I'm here at the Aldo Scribanti track down in Port Elizabeth for a very important reason. Today is somebody's birthday. And that somebody is Fireblade. Can you believe it? The Honda Fireblade has been in production for 20 years. 20 years ago, when the Fireblade debuted, it kind of rewrote the sport bike rulebook, if you like, because it didn't go with massive capacity, it didn't go for outright horsepower. In fact, it was a 900, if you remember, when it first came out. It went for overall total control. And that's a design ethos that Honda has kept with the Fireblade for the past 20 years. Now, to celebrate the 20th birthday, time for a birthday present to itself, and that means a bit of an update. Time first, though, to rewind to the start of this birthday celebration, which involves treating the motorcycling press to some sumptuous hospitality and a briefing on the details of the new Fireblade, including a welcome from Honda SA's top dog, the ex-bike racing Nakamura-san. At the track, the royal treatment continues, with Honda South Africa's official superbike team, Bikefin Honda, in attendance to make sure that all the bikes were always in tip-top condition and ready for action. Talking of action, a quick rider briefing, and then it's time to hit the track. Initial impressions of a new model are always exciting. Those first couple of hours riding are intriguing and will, you hope, also be rewarding. There is none of that, though, with the 2012 Fireblade. It feels as familiar and comfortable as a pair of old slippers. A pair of very fast and very noisy old slippers. The Blade has always been easy to get on with, and now that's more true than ever. For a bike with a claimed 175 horses and a top speed not too far from 300 km an hour, this is a ridiculously docile package. When you don't want all the performance, it'll very happily behave like a much more sensible bike.
Well, I think it's time to take a bit of a rest.
Well, that's it then. Half the day gone, 4 sessions out of the way. Time for some early appraisal while I have my lunch, and that early appraisal will basically say it's a Fireblade. I say that not to state the bleeding obvious, but to draw your attention to the fact that, really, there has been very little done to this year's new model. Of all the updates, perhaps the most obvious and certainly the most welcome is the new, sharper-looking nose. The so-called snub-nose version that we've had for the past 4 years or so was no great looker, so this change marks a definite improvement. It's still a sport bike, but the riding position isn't too extreme. In fact, as far as most superbikes go, it's bordering on luxuriously comfortable. For track comfort and control, there are sculpted tank pads to help you keep a grip on this road-legal racer. No improvements to the engine, other than some updated fuel mapping. No changes either to the brakes, but that's okay, because they've always been brilliant. Suspension is one area that has been improved, with the arrival of lighter wheels and a set of Showa's big piston forks, and a new rear shock that is much more accessible if you want to play with its full range of adjustability. Race tyres came courtesy of Pirelli, and a new MotoGP-inspired dash comes courtesy of HRC. It has programmable shift lights, a lap timer and gear position indicator. Surprisingly, it's even readable in bright sunlight. That's a useful feature that comes in very handy when you need to snatch a quick glance to check the speed at the end of Aldo Scribanti's start-finish straight. I have to be brutally honest here and say that most of the updates to the new Fireblade are so subtle, you'd need to be some kind of world-class racer or factory tester to really feel the improvements. The Blade is great on the brakes, it's easy to hustle through slow or fast corners. It really is a complete package. Having ridden plenty of other sport bikes recently, the one area the Fireblade did stand out was its fueling. The throttle response is always perfect, no matter how clumsy you are, and that's not an easy trick to get right. The Fireblade then, as always, is basically good at everything, but it isn't a standout at any one thing. The engine is the perfect example of this. Opting out as it does of the Power Wars, it sits at the bottom of the current superbike class, but it makes up for it with loads of torque. That means it's easier to ride fast, especially on the road, where, let's face it, most of these bikes are going to live.
The Blade has never really been about its engine as such. It's a good engine, make no mistake. The Blade has always been kind of the best road bike of the Japanese litre class super bikes, and I'd say it probably still is. Okay, there's no traction control, and yes, on a track environment you do tend to start spinning the rear. But the handling package with these big piston forks, it has been improved. The turn-in, just so accurate, just so much confidence. You feel you could stuff it in and stuff it in, nothing ever bad's going to happen, which obviously it will eventually.
Well, the end of a fantastic day. Look at the weather, absolutely beautiful. No better way of celebrating 20 years of Honda Fireblade. And this, the 2012 model, the latest iteration of what is a definite design classic, an icon in the true sense of the word. Where does it fit in? Well, it's pretty much the same bike that it was last year, with a little bit of improvement just about everywhere. Not in the engine, not in the electronics, but the handling, which was always good, is now better than ever. It was always the all-round superbike, the Honda. The Fireblade keeps that going, except now it's just got a little bit more sportiness to it. Feels a little bit lighter, feels a little bit more aggressive when you get going with it. But if you were expecting something mega, I think you might have to wait for one more birthday. The big one, its 21st birthday, is next year. And something tells me it might be a V4 with more electronics than you could shake a PlayStation at.